I can't believe I'm still here dealing with this shit. It is currently the start of October. I moved in August. And I'm still having to deal with shit.
How did it come to this?
This series was meant to be an opportunity for me to rant about things that annoy me, that were like, outside world stuff. But I'm so annoyed right now because I can't even talk. I'm so pissed off because I just want to deal. I've moved into a new flat. I moved in, like I said, mid-August, and obviously when you move, there's a lot of hassle you have to deal with, and that hassle involves things along the lines of switching addresses over and signing up for bills and things like that. I'm one of those people where I used to be really shit at this stuff, and nowadays I'm usually pretty decent. Like, I get to the new place and I immediately right, I'm going to set all this stuff up so it's all done. It's finished and I can move on with my life. Like I said, start of October, and I'm still having to deal with this hassle because fucking companies... Oh my god, leave me alone, spam! My fucking email keeps getting spam emails from shit that won't get blocked by the spam filter. Hey, look at this fucking shit. Okay, where is it? Email comes through. Report regarding Camp Lejeune settlement claims, free eligibility checker, email address it's been sent from, 6EGOVQ3JBH6 at weekwoo.os and rye. How does Hotmail not know that this is spam?
Fuck you.
Marcus Junk, fuck off. Right. Sorry. Yeah, no, I'm still dealing with moving in shit. So, when you move in, here's the things you got to set up, right? You got to sort out council tax, you got to sort out gas and electricity, you got to sort out water, and then you've got to sort out other things like internet and anything else that you might have, if you're the TV license, things you need to set up when you move into a new place. So, when I moved in, I immediately signed up for all these things. Water, I don't need to do, because the property I'm living in, the water is covered by, the group of buildings, so I actually don't need to pay for that. Council tax I signed up for the day I got my keys, and today I got the letter saying that thing had been fully processed. So it's taken the council a month, almost 2 months, to send me through this letter, which just means that all my council tax bills are slightly more expensive because I'm paying for the same amount of money but in less payments, which is fine because the money is still set aside. That's okay. That's now dealt with. I hope there's no more problems.
Yeah, right.
Internet. So I ranted about the internet in the last one of these videos. The internet is now sorted because I went into the shop for Vodafone, spoke to an actual person. They fixed all the problems. It turns out that something weird had happened where they'd closed my account even though I didn't want it closed. So the guy had to reopen the account in order to actually process the order I wanted. But I got what I wanted, it's set up, and obviously I've been using it now. I've had no problems with it. It's dropped out a couple of times, but the internet just does that. That's fine. So, progress is being made. The issue I've been having is with gas and electricity. So, I moved into this property, and I was told by the letting agent, the person who showed me, and she said, you've got electricity with Shell, and you've got gas with British Gas. And she said, I would probably leave that because you're going to get a better deal with those two. So I was like, okay, I've never been with two separate suppliers, but it's fine. I could just set them both up separately. It just means I've got an extra account to manage. Fine. I set up the Shell one almost instantly. They sent me a letter that said, you've moved into the new property, etc. I set up the starting date. They sent me a letter saying that this needs to be paid, etc., etc. And it was fine. Perfect. British Gas, holy fucking shit. So the reason I'm making this video today is because British Gas, in my other video, I talked about how British Gas had great customer service, right? And to be fair, I haven't actually spoken to a proper person for a while, but British Gas have fucking ruined my opinion of their company over the past few weeks because they have... I basically sort of feel violated and discarded by the company. And that is never a feeling that somebody should have with a business that they're paying money for a service. So I don't even know where to start with this. Like, this is honestly one of the most frustrating things I've had to deal with, and I don't understand how the company can run like this. So what happened was, so I've used British Gas plenty of times. I've used them for probably the last 4 or 5 years, like the company that I've used for gas and electricity. And I've had a couple of issues, but there's never been anything that's been to the point where it's caused me actual frustration. And one of the big problems with British Gas seems to be that if you move house, they keep your old address on the record. So you end up with multiple accounts open on under one email address, and when you log in, it sends you to the wrong account, and you're like, well, this is obviously closed. I'm not using this account. You've closed it. There's a little banner at the top saying, we're sorry to see you go, even though you've still got an account with them. I had British Gas at the previous place I lived at. I closed it down. I paid the bill. Fine. Sorted. So then I had to open British Gas here. So I looked for their moving homepage because I thought that was the best way to do it, was to find their moving homepage and say, I've moved into this new home, this is the date I've moved in on. So you go to the moving homepage of British Gas, and it says, oops, there's been a problem, and gives you, like, gives you a phone, like a number to call, and everybody knows that nobody wants to call. Like, you don't want to call these companies because you're on hold for ages. Sometimes you just get cut off. Sometimes you get through to the wrong department. Sometimes they say they can't help you. So you want to resolve things in a way where not only is it going to not take up half of your day trying to deal with it, but also you have a record. I like doing things through emails or through web chats and stuff, because then I've got a record of the conversation. So if something else happens, I can say, like, they said this, I said this is what happened, and if I forget something they've said, I can go back through and I can read that back. So what I thought I would do is I would try and use the live chat, because there's a live chat that you can go through that allows you to move house. And I was like, perfect, company's got a live chat, the future, not like fucking, who was it I was complaining about last time, was it? It was Talk. Wouldn't let you do fucking shit online properly. They hid their live chat deep in the bowels of the website. So immediately, when you're on the British Gas website, it comes at the bottom, live chat help. You click on live chat, went through the process of going through this list thing, right? And then when you get through to a person, they're like, how can we help? And you have to re-explain what you've just said. I put, like, oh, I've moved to this address, you supply the gas, I just need to sign up for the gas account. And they were like, oh, I'm sorry, your address is listed with British Gas Classic. We are British Gas Evolve. You need to call this number. And this is going to become a pattern, because apparently there's 2 British Gases, Classic and Evolve, and the fuckers don't talk to each other. So you can't pass, like, I don't understand how one company can have 2 separate things, and one of them's like, you need to call this number, rather than just being like, oh, you're with these other people, we'll pass your information on to them. So I went on Twitter, because last time I had an issue with one of these companies, I got on Twitter and they helped me. So I went on Twitter and I messaged them on Twitter and said, this is my problem, I'm not sitting on the phone, I don't have the time to do that, and you fucking companies are shit with phone calls. So I went through that, and then they sent me a DM, and the DM said, you need to go to this link, and then sent the link that doesn't work, you know, the one that says, oops, something went wrong. But then they also sent another one, which was like a basic, sort of a really simple moving homepage, and that one worked. So I went on that one, and I filled in the details. They were like, what do you want? I went, I want gas. All I want from you is gas. So I put the gas one in. They said, right, give us your gas reading. So I gave them the gas reading. They said, what date would you like the reading from? I said the date I moved in, which was the 13th of August. Put it all in. They said, submitted, we'll get in touch with you. Perfect, problem solved. I was like, right, that's it, everything's done. All I need to do now is wait for my bill. So what happened then is that I got many letters through, the first of which was like, well, you've now set up your gas account, and it said, the date they set it up from was the 8th. Did I write the 8th? No. I put the 13th, and I gave them the reading from the 13th. But for some reason, they had a reading from the 8th, which I'm guessing was the previous tenant, and the gap between that was the days I wasn't living there while the landlords and people were sorting the building out. But if that was the worst of my problems, I had to pay for gas for 5 days when I'm pretty sure that the gas wouldn't have been used because they were just replacing carpets and shit, then I was fine, right? It's a minor issue, I can live with that. But then I get another letter through, and the letter says, you have switched your electricity to British Gas. No, I didn't! I didn't choose I specifically chose gas, and I know I did because they only asked for a gas reading, and I had both the readings, and I already signed up with Shell. So British Gas forced me to have their electricity, and I was like, fucking no, companies don't do that. You don't give someone a service they haven't asked for. So I went through the email and they said, if you don't want this electricity, then what you need to do is follow these 2 links. So there were 2 different links in the email. I clicked on them, they led to the exact same form. So first of all, liars!
Why must you turn my office into a house of lies?
Sent me 2 ways to solve a problem, and they were both the same form, but that form also didn't fix the problem, because that form was about how to cancel the whole thing. And I didn't want to cancel the whole thing because I wanted their gas, but I didn't want their electricity. So they also sent me another email, and this email said, your online account is now ready. So I was like, perfect, they've set my account up, I can log in there and I can figure out the problem from there. So I tried to sign into the account, but what it did was it took me to my old account. So for my old address in Cambridge, and it was like, oops, sorry to see you go. I was like... But then on this front page, they also had a link that said, you have another account open with us. Fucking, oh great, oh I see. So this account is the closed one, but you can still get to the new one. Excellent. Click that link, it took me to a different site that was for the same address. So I now have 2 accounts for the Cambridge address, and I can't access the account for this address that I live at. The Cambridge one, it says on one of them, like, this is an old account. Click here to get to your new account. And then the new account is like, you have another account with us. Click here to get to your other account. So they're just fucking passing me back and forth between what I assume is Classic and Evolve, which are 2 fucking shit names. You don't call your energy Evolve, shut up. So anyway, I went back through the stupid email that switched me over, and they said, you have 14 days to cancel this if you want to, like, to stop the switch, basically. You have 14 days to stop the switch. And I was about to go on holiday, and, you know, I was getting pressure from my friends, like, Brad, you need to switch off a little bit. So I was like, right, well, for the holiday, I'm not going to bother. They've given me 2 weeks, and that might not even be 2 weeks. It might be longer, because they usually work in, like, working days. But I didn't want to leave it just hanging, so before I left, I found an email address that allowed you to contact their British Gas, like some of their customer service people. So I wrote this paragraph about everything that had just happened, and I was like, here's the problem. I don't want the electricity, but you've switched me over, and I can't access my online account because it's taking me to a different account, and you, like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Obviously, like, the thing is, I know what I'm supposed to do is call them. And I will, to be honest, I did call them once. I was on for hold for like 10 minutes, and they cut me off. So this is why people don't like to call. And like I said, I want to have stuff in writing to refer back to. Just calling companies is shit, and it shouldn't be the main way things are done. Because whenever you call, they're always like, oh, there is an abundance of people on the line, please hold. Or maybe you should call back on a different day. Like, they know their phone lines are shit. Just do more live chat. It's better for everyone. So I sent this email off, and I was like, okay, so that can sort of simmer in the background while I'm on holiday. So when I get back from the holiday, I've got a reply from them, and the email says, we can't help you. This email address is for British Gas Evolve, and you need to contact British Gas Classic on this number. All they want me to do is call this sodding number, and I don't just...
Gonna cry?
I woke up today with the intention to give them a call. Like, I was going to sit on that phone, I was going to get this fucking thing resolved. But before I did that, I had an idea. What if I can use another email address to set up a new account online to access my account? Because I thought maybe the issue is that they have like a weird system that can't handle the same email address being used more than once. And I've had a history of that happening with them before, when I moved from one address to another, and they seemed to have an issue with the email address. So what I did was I set up a new online account for this property with a different email address, and by Jove, I got in. So I got onto the account, and it told me the address that I'd moved into, the one I'm at now, but it didn't just have that, it had the same address directly below it, and it said, which account do you want to access? So, for some reason, I have 2 accounts for this one property.
Terry, would you do the honors?
Why?
So when I clicked on them, I realised that what it was is I've got an electricity account and I've got a gas account, but they're separate on the site and they have different addresses for the same address. So one of them has the full address and then one has the full address without the county. And I don't get how this has happened, because if I signed up for it, when I signed up for just gas, when I signed up for that, if they then opened an electricity account for me using that information, they would have had the exact same address. So I don't understand how they've opened two accounts under two slightly different addresses for the same property from me filling in a form once. The only way I can think this has happened is if one of the other complaints I put in where I was like, I want to sign up for this, the person just went ahead and did it anyway, even though they were like, we can't do this.
It's fucking unprofessional!
So anyway, now I have access to my online accounts, because this isn't even over. Like, this is the thing. The reason I'm filming these when I'm angry is because this is a way for me to vent. And this morning, just the anger is impalpable. So, two accounts. I click on the gas one, and it says direct debit for gas is set up. You're paying this amount, and I clicked on it, and it was like, you need to be paying this other amount in order to not be in debt. And the other amount is fucking double the amount that they quoted me when I signed up. But I'm gonna assume that's something to do with the rising energy. Like, I don't give a shit. At least I've got an account that I can fucking look at. But the other one was the electricity one, and you click on it and there's no amount to pay. It's like, we don't know the amount that you were going to pay because you haven't submitted any meter readings. It's weird, that, isn't it? It's almost like when I signed up, I didn't give them electricity reading because I didn't want their electricity. Oh, something I forgot to say as well. So I decided when I got back from the holiday that I was just going to keep British Gas electricity. And the reason was because the price couldn't have been that different. Like, all of the energy prices are all shit at the moment. But they told me that it would take 14 days for me to, like, decline it if I wanted to. But they switched me within 2 days. They got in touch with Shell and were like, oh, he wants our electricity now. Not your dirty electricity. He wants our electricity. And they switched me in 2 days. So when I got back, I was already with British Gas. And I was like, well, I'm getting sick of dealing with this shit. Fine. You can squeeze your way, you dirty little invasive company, into my life. I'll keep you, provided it's not extortionately expensive. And if it is, then at least I can then actively choose to switch to a different company, rather than them getting their little tendrils in and forcing their way into my life. So, anyway, where was I? The online account. So, the electricity side said they had no meter readings. Fucking wonder why. They had no meter readings, and I clicked on it, and I was like, alright, well, I'll submit a reading. Like, I have a reading for... See, this is the thing, I didn't have a reading for when I switched, because I don't know when they switched me. Because I didn't fucking choose it! And it happened when I was on holiday. So I don't have a reading for the interim of when they switched me, which means I don't even know what's happened with Shell. I don't know if they were like, we need a final meter reading from you so we can close out your account. But they didn't get one because I was effectively violated by British Gas, forcing their way into my existence. So the only meter reading I had is the one I took today, and I was supposed to have taken a meter reading a few days ago because I got an email like, we need a reading before the 30th of September because there's going to be like a new tariff switch. The thing was, what was I doing on the 30th of September? That's right, I had COVID, so I was fucking like bedridden and really tired and barely doing anything with my day. I wasn't going to go outside to my meter reading cupboard, which is outside and across the courtyard through a locked door in a dark room. I wasn't going to go and do that on a day when I felt like shit. So I took my meter reading today, and I looked for a place to submit the reading, but for some reason on the account there isn't a place under the meter readings tab where you can just click submit meter reading. So what you have to do is find a different way to do it. And there was one meter readings page that I found which was like, oh, you can submit a meter reading for your account. And when I clicked on it, they had the wrong electricity meter there. The one I've got is a single reading meter, and they had a double reading one. So, wrong.
Wrong!
But then, when I submitted one, they were like, oops, there's been a problem, call our number. They just want to talk to me, that's what it is. You know, they saw the name and they're like, ooh, that guy makes videos online. Let's try and get a conversation with him. And just find every fucking opportunity to make me call them.
No.
one of the emails they sent that was like, you need to submit a meter reading before this day, they had another form, which I think is like an offline form that allows you to submit a reading, because the problem with when they're like, there's a meter reading day, is that everybody will submit a reading one after the other, and it'll cause their site to crash if they try and process it immediately. So I think what they do is they create a form that keeps all of this stuff basically offline in a list, and then when they need to process it, they can start doing it and not crash their site. So I found that form, I filled that form in, and I submitted it. So now I'm currently in electricity account limbo, where I have no idea what's actually going on with this. All I know is British Gas forced their account on me, won't let me log in via the email address I signed up with, so I had to make a different account, a different email address. When I finally get access, they then have 2 accounts for me for the same property, because every other time I've had gas and electricity. This one I have gas and electricity, and the electricity one has no readings and no information because they didn't do it, because I didn't ask for it. I didn't want their electricity. I was happy having signed up for the Shell one. Like, British Gas, I obviously, like, maybe you've got people that go around and check stuff and like PR people. If you're listening to this, what the fuck? You don't just act like switch people over to your service if they don't ask for that switch. And I can't think of a single way that this could have happened, because when I filled in the form for the gas, they specifically said, what do you want from us? Do you want gas, electricity, or gas and electricity? And depending on which option you choose, it is what it asks for in the form below. So when I selected gas and it said, what do you want? The only thing underneath was to fill in the gas meter reading. If I clicked gas and electricity by accident, then they would have also asked for an electricity reading, and I would have realised there was a problem because I had to give them a reading they weren't supposed to have.
I don't know. I don't understand.
I also don't understand why they've decided that they need to charge me for the time I wasn't in the property when the date I submitted was the 13th, and the date that I didn't move was like the date that they've given is the 8th. Like, the only reason they got that number is because the previous tenant signed out on that date. So what they've done is they've obviously got the information to say that I moved in on the 13th, looked at the accounts and gone, there's a 5-day gap here where he didn't live there. And unlike Shell, who sent a letter through saying, oh, we noticed there's a 5-day gap here, so somebody needs to pay that bill, here is the information to pay that bill, British Gas are just like, nah, just give the 5 days to him, he clearly is able to pay it. I'm still on the other end of COVID, so I'm coughing a little bit, so apologise. I've had to cut several bits out of this video where I've been coughing really badly, and because ranting obviously gets your throat worked up. Oh god, it's so frustrating. There's one more thing that pissed me off this morning as well, and it was on the website there's a little thing on the side that says British Gas. It's easier on the app, so they clearly want you to download their app because apparently it's easier on the app. So I downloaded the app and I signed in, and once I'd signed in, the little thing came up saying, you have to do this online. You can't use the app for an email address with more than one address. So, and I have more than, like, they basically, because they've submitted me as gas and electric as two separate things, I can't use their app because they think that I've got more addresses. When I don't have more addresses, I've got one address that they fucked up. And again, I don't know how they fucked it up. I don't understand how they have 2 addresses, because I only filled their form in once. Unless one of the other times I filled their form in, and it said, oops, there's been a problem, the details were actually submitted. But in that case, they still wouldn't have electricity. I've been getting so stressed out recently, because, and here's the thing, right? None of the issues that I'm currently having are big. And that's why I feel kind of shitty always moaning about them, because it's not a huge issue. Like, I've got the flat, I'm living in the flat, I've got gas and electricity, it's not like they've cut me off or anything. And like with the internet one, I have access to the internet, there's workarounds. None of these issues can't be resolved. The problem is that no matter what I do, there's always one more thing that I have to fucking deal with. And this is why it gets so frustrating. Like, it builds up over time. It's not just that I can't sign up for the gas. It's that when I eventually find a way to, they then add a new problem. They can't just let me pay for the gas and be done with it. They have to then force the electricity switch onto me. And when I try and deal with the electricity switch, I then have the issue of, apparently I can't contact the right people. And then when I try and call, I have the problem that I can't get through. And then when I try and email, I have the people sending back the right... Every single time, it feels like I'm going to have to not worry about this stuff. You hear another letter come through the door, and there's another thing I have to deal with. In the grand scheme of things, these aren't big problems. Like, what I'm ranting about today is just a long list of shit that's happened and that will eventually be resolved. The main problem is that it might end up costing me more money, because if it turns out that British Gas's electricity is more expensive than Shell's electricity, then they've basically conned me out of money by switching me over when I didn't ask for a switch. But the worst thing it's going to do is cause me a little bit of extra stress and a bit of extra money. I'm just sick of things not being resolved, and the fact that the biggest issue around it is when it's not my fault, but then I'm the one who has to deal with it. Like, British Gas caused me a problem and then are making me deal with that problem. And this is why these, like, it gets so frustrating. And I know that everybody has to deal with stuff like this in their lives. Fixing a problem that you didn't create, and then when you fix that problem, there's then another problem on top of it, and you're never the one who makes that problem. Like, I didn't cause, really, any of this. All I did was move to a new flat and try and sign up for a service that, first of all, I never got to choose anyway, because British Gas was already the supplier, and when I move in, they're still supplying the property. And every time you move into a new property, there's always a previous supplier that you have to deal with. Even if you want to switch, you are still being supplied by that person when you first move in. So I've submitted a reading, and I'm hoping that this is resolved. Like I said, I'm gonna have to pay more money because I didn't get the other reading in time, and I don't know if they're gonna I assume they have a way to contact Shell and calculate the difference between the readings from what one company has and what the other company has, and then use an average to figure out the switch date and how much I owe to both companies. That would be the logical way of doing it, because I don't have a reading for the interim. I don't have a reading for the date that I was switched over, because I was switched over when I was out of the country, and I was switched over about 12 days before they told me they were going to switch me over.
Okay.
It will resolve itself. It's never going to get to a situation where it completely fucks me over. I'm just irritated. If you can't tell, I'm just irritated that I wanted to make this series more along the lines of, I want to pick a film that's shit, and I want to talk about why it's shit and why it amazes me that the film was shit in the first place. One of the episodes that I'm going to record is about Star Wars, and about how the sequel trilogy is three completely incoherent films, when that trilogy should have been one of the best things of all time, because they had Disney, they had loads of already a massive fan base. They had basically everything going for it, and they somehow managed to make three incoherent films that just felt like directors whacking each other with their dicks. I want to make stuff like that, where I talk about media and, fun stuff. And instead, I'm having to use this series as an outlet to rant about things in real life that piss me off. I'm guessing that this episode is going to go up after the one that I did with Adam about the holiday. Again, situations where in real life that just shit goes wrong. The thing is, though, it is a very good outlet to vent, because I feel better. I feel a little bit better having had a massive rant. And it means that other people don't have to listen to the rants as well. When I say other people, I mean in my real life. I'm not going to go down the pub and have a go at people and rant about shit. It means I can do it to an audience who probably get a laugh out of it. And, it's content in it.
But look, I made you some content.
When I first made this series, it was going to be called Breaking Brad. But I was worried that people would compare it too much to the series Breaking Bad and assume that it had something to do with that series. So instead, I just called it Break Brad, because Break Bad is still a phrase. It's just not ubiquitously associated with a TV series about a teacher that makes drugs. But everyone in the comments just keeps saying you should call it Breaking Bad. You should call it Breaking Bad. You should call it Breaking Bad. So I might just change it to Breaking Bad. Like, honestly, who's going to think it's... I think it's just me being paranoid. No one's going to actually think it's got anything to do with Breaking Bad. And considering that Breaking Bad is actually a really decent series, I doubt that I'm ever going to end up making a Breaking Bad video about Breaking Bad. If you enjoy watching these, let me know in the comments. Obviously, share your issues that you've had with other suppliers as well. I do think at some point I might do an episode where I go through the comments and I make a list of issues people have had and sort of have a rant on your behalf. But more than anything, I actually quite like reading those comments because at least I know I'm not alone. I know it's not me having to deal with this shit on a day-to-day basis. Like, right here, I've got all the letters that have been sent by British Gas over the past few weeks. And it's a fucking waste of paper, I'll tell you that right now. Like, multiple things. Like, moving home, your summary. And they've got, like, gas and electricity separate on here. But they're on the same letter as well. Customer reference number, gas, electricity. And the electricity number is the one that's on a... I'm done. I'm fucking done. Like, I can't... I need to just switch off this. I've done what I can today. I've submitted that reading. And if something else happens in the next, I don't know, 2 or 3 days, then maybe I'll add to this. Because, like, the thing is, this video is probably not going to be out for at least another week or two. So what I can do is I can record again and I can add to the end of this. So if this isn't the end, oh my god, I'm so sorry, Future Brad. So you fucking should be. Hello, Future Brad here, with a quick update. Because guess what? It's not fixed. So the rest of this video was recorded at the start of October, and it's currently the middle of October. And since then, I've had no correspondence or anything, like no email to say, oh, your meter reading was accepted or anything like that. I've heard nothing except that they took money out of my account for the gas. So the direct debit on the gas is clearly set up and is functioning, which means that I am paying for my gas, which is a step in the right direction. But, you know how I previously mentioned how the gas was saying that the amount I needed to pay them was double the amount I was paying them? Well, it turns out there's a reason why. And that reason is that they predicted a meter reading. So I didn't realise this when I'd last looked at it. I thought that the reading they'd taken was the one I gave them. But it turns out that what happened was they predicted the reading in September because I didn't give them one, because I couldn't access my account. And the previous reading before that is the one that I think the last tenant gave. So obviously, like I said, they charged me for the span that I wasn't living here. But because it was only like 5 days, I was like, fuck it, I'll pay it. I'm guessing that no gas was used when I wasn't here, because all they did was clean. So no one's fucking cooking on the hob when I'm not here. So like, I think that's all I need gas for. Like, maybe it goes into the boiler as well, but as far as I'm aware, like, most of the gas is going to be used on the hob. So they predicted a reading, and this reading they predicted is so much fucking higher than the reading I actually took, because I went out today and I got my meter reading. I came in, I was like, right, I need to put my reading in. Submit your new reading, here is the number. And when I put it in, I looked up and I was like, the previous reading is higher than this one. How is that possible? How has my gas meter gone down? And it turns out it didn't go down. It's just that they predicted the last reading way higher than it should be. But it doesn't tell you it's predicted like in the actual form bit. It tells you at the bottom in the table, in brackets, predicted. So I was like, well, what do I do? Because they've clearly calculated everything based on this fake reading that they made up. Because I couldn't give them one because they wouldn't let me into my account. So what I did was I submitted just the reading I had. I was like, here is the reading number I've got, because then it'll overwrite your predicted one, because then they've got an actual figure. And I put that in, and then it comes up with, are you sure? Are you sure that's correct? Because for some reason, they're not allowed to be right. Are you sure that you've put your reading incorrectly, sir? So I was like, yes, of course I fucking have. I've got photographic evidence of not only the reading now, but the reading a few weeks ago, like a week ago or so, and the reading when I first moved in. So I have photos of all these readings, and because I'm probably going to need them, because when I filled the form in, it's now changed to, your meter reading is mighty suspicious. we're going to need to get in contact about it potentially before we update your account. It's like, it's not suspicious. You just can't predict gas usage. Clearly. Unless the previous tenant was fucking all the hobs on it over winter to warm themselves up, just bent over getting a fucking sunburn. Like, I can't understand how the reading that they put in was as high as it is, because clearly they predicted that I would use double what I've actually used. So maybe it's just because I don't use as much gas the previous tenant. But, like, I don't fucking know. But I've got the photographs and I've submitted the reading, so I'm hoping that they'll just change it. Like, they'll be like, oh, we can't be bothered with the hassle. But considering the way that this is all going, that's not going to happen, is it? I'm going to get some email through saying, we've noticed a discrepancy in your meter readings. Tut, tut, tut. Please submit evidence for us, which I'll probably then submit, and then they'll be like, your evidence isn't substantial enough. Please submit another bit of evidence. It's like they'll want, oh, are you able to get inside and measure the gas using special equipment? Like, this is the thing. Like, I said at the end of the last one, every time something goes right, it goes wrong. I also want to point out, I don't know if people can tell, but I'm obviously feeling a lot better. I was riddled with COVID, or the end of COVID, when I last recorded this one. And, like, just, I can see myself on the other side of my screen, and I look so much more alive. So that's always a plus. We're not done yet, though, because I've still got the electricity to talk about. So, the electricity, nothing has happened since I last recorded this video. And by nothing, I mean, they haven't even taken the meter reading I submitted. So, you know what I said? I managed to find that form where I was able to submit a meter reading. I put one in and nothing's happened. The only thing that's changed on the account is that it's now £66 in credit. And it turns out that's something to do with the government giving money to help with the bills. So, that's gone through, but there's still no meter readings on the account. But they haven't sent me an email like, we need your reading, which is normally what these things do. When you open an account, they're like, you haven't submitted a reading, or you've got this time to submit a reading, you should submit a reading now. And I got one of those at the end of September when they were doing all the changes, but when I used that form, nothing happened. So, I don't fucking know. And it still won't let me submit a meter reading on their website. So on the gas page, if you click on meter readings, it opens the page. It's got your last reading, submit a reading, and at the bottom, a table of all your previous readings. So you can just put your reading in and press submit, and they'll just add it to the list. Like, immediately worked, despite the fact that they're like, there's a bit of suspicious activity on your account. Apart from that, the whole thing worked fine. But the electricity one, you click on it and it just says, we have no readings for this account. But then there's nothing else. Like, there's no little thing where I can put it in. This is, I've been with British Gas before, and they've always had a place on that page to submit a meter reading, and it's just not there. It just isn't available. And I get the feeling that this is because they have no meter reading for me at all. But the weird thing is, how are they gonna get one if they don't give me a form to fill in? At some point over the next few days, I'm probably going to be getting a new neighbour, and I feel sorry for them if I'm going to have to start, like, if this keeps happening, and I have to record more videos, because they're going to be on the other side of this wall, like, what the fuck is that guy shouting at? Because they're only going to hear one voice, and I'm going to look like I'm senile, just yelling at a fucking brick wall constantly about all my bill problems. Like, if I meet them, I'm going to have to be like, yeah, I record content. If you ever hear anything, like, weird, or if I'm up late at night playing a game or something, just, you know, maybe I'll give them my number and just say knock and say something. And because it's the polite thing to do. Like, I got a complaint in my previous property because I was playing Rocket League at 4 a.m. and I was being super loud. So, I think it's like, after that, I sort of changed my whole schedule and started streaming earlier and made sure that I didn't make certain noise after a certain time. Like, you got to be respectful. Like, this kind of content creation sometimes gets out of hand. Anyway, that's it. I'm just here to give a little update on what's been going on, because it's obviously not sorted. The thing is, let me just, like, conclude everything else, though, right? Council tax, sorted. Sign up for my direct debit today. Water, like I said, don't need to pay it. Internet, sorted. Gas, apparently not sorted, but, like, I'm at least paying for it. Obviously, my rent and everything's fine. Today, for the first time since I've moved in, I managed to take my blue bin out, because the first time I didn't know what day it was, the second time I wasn't here, like, it only happens once every 4 weeks. So last night, it was 1 a.m, and I realised I'd not taken my blue bin out. So I went out, the blue bin's there, for anyone who doesn't know who's watching this in, like, in America or something, our blue bin is where our cardboard goes in Sheffield. So I had loads of cardboard left from when I moved in, of, like, all the boxes and stuff that I'd cut up. and I wasn't able to put it in any of the bins because they were all full. So I went out last night to get my bin, and to be honest, I don't even know which one is my bin. Like, I took 2 of them today and put them next to my flat, and I think they're mine, but if a neighbour comes and knocks on the door and is like, actually, this is my bin, well, tell me which one's mine then. But I went out last night and I took my bin out to where it's supposed to be picked up, and I realised that nobody else in my little community had put their blue bins out, so I'm not the only one. But I did the neighbourly thing, and I took every bin out. So I took out every single blue bin, and this morning I went out and checked, and they've all been emptied. And apart from the one who has a fucking bin bag at the bottom, like, people don't seem to know how to use the bins here. I mean, obviously no one who lives here is going to be watching. I mean, maybe they are. Maybe they have. Someone will see me outside and be like, oh, you're that guy who was screaming about his British gas. But yeah, if any of you see it, just please learn what your bins are for. Because they're not going to get taken out, and then you can have to wait 4 weeks again for them to take it out again. But no, thankfully, I remembered. All my cardboard got taken out. All of my rubbish is gone. And I've had no massive issues with the flat. Like, last night, it was chucking it down. No leaks. So that's always a plus. So everything else is coming up, Brad. And, like, I can tell I'm feeling more energetic. I'm feeling better. I don't have COVID anymore. Still got a very faint cough, but apparently that takes a while to go away. And, yeah, stuff's moving forward. Like, things are going well. But I just want it resolved because it's just so irritating to have it hanging over my head. So, like, the odds of somebody from British Gas watching this are probably quite low. But I know that companies occasionally do seek out, like, stuff related to them. So, if anyone from British Gas is here, just please call me. Like, or find a way to, like, put a comment in the and I'll contact you. Like, I don't want to sit on the phone for hours trying to get through, particularly when you cut me off when I do try. I shouldn't need to. It's 2022. We shouldn't need to make a phone call because there's objectively no reason why a phone call is better except that you can get connected straight away. But, like, live chat is basically just a phone call, but better. Because you can do multiple people at once. You don't have to be on the phone with a single person. You can also have, like, forms that paste specific responses in, so you don't need to say everything again. You can all, like, just follow a list of things to do. You can pass it on to someone else, and all the information is carried over. There is no reason why phone calls are really better than live chat, except for the fact that there may be people who can't, like, who don't have computers, or they don't want to use live chat. And I get that, that's a preference, but I think that, like, considering that the majority of people now are going to be completely computer literate and have the internet, because you can barely live without the internet these days, I think that the live chat system should be the go-to when it comes to contacting a company. And to British Gas's credit, they've got a live chat. It's just for British Gas Evolve and not British Gas Classic. Anyway, right, I don't want this video to be too long. Like, I've already recorded for another 15 minutes, and the original part that you just watched was originally 45 minutes. So that's an hour that I've ranted about this one topic. So thank you for watching. I'm sorry that these episodes can't be of something else, but the thing is, I get the feeling that a lot of people feel like, what's the word I'm looking for? They can relate to this. They can relate to these problems, because this kind of thing happens to people all the time. And hearing that, I think it is comforting knowing that they're not the only one who's having to deal with it. Because at the moment, I feel like with the whole British Gas thing, I feel like I'm being targeted because everything keeps going wrong, and I didn't even ask for it. So that's why I think, like, you know, like I said, throw some comments in. Let me know if you've had to deal with these problems before. If there's any, because there's no decent companies. We've got to this point by now. There is not a single good service providing company out there. The only good thing about them is that there are staff who work for them who sometimes give a shit. And those staff are the ones who will get your problems sorted. But for the most part, they've probably got to deal with hundreds, thousands of customers every week, every month, shouting at them. Like, if I was talking like this, like my ranty voice, to somebody over the phone, then I would feel sorry for them, because all they're trying to do is fix these problems, and they get people yelling at them, and it's not their fault. So I think I'll leave this video with that message at the end. If you have to deal with one of these problems and you end up speaking to a member of staff, because at some point I'm going to have to call them. I know that this is a fact. I'm going to have to get up early, and I'm going to have to pick a day when I think they'll be quiet, and I'm going to have to sit on the phone for several hours. So if you get to a point where you have to call these companies, just make sure that you're polite and that you don't raise your voice at any point. And if they can't resolve the problem, then there's going to be another solution somewhere. It's not the end of the world if these things don't get fixed. But it doesn't mean that you can't be pissed off.